Right. We're going to talk something very interesting today, and that is the art of war concepts. Now you'll find very few workshops actually will cover the whole content of the art of war. The art of war is written in 13 chapters, and what most workshop does is to pick some of the sayings from art of war and explain it and reformulate those in a model, a typical Western approach to management. What I'm going to do now, as you see that art of war concepts, right, is really to go through with you every chapter. And what I've done was to actually extract the key concepts from the art of war. This is chapter 1, or scroll 1. You'll find that Sun Tzu emphasized the book on the art of war, or we call it, the scroll, the 13 scrolls of art of war, concern one key theme, one simple theme: the art of survival. And how do you master the way leading to survival? That's very important. It's not about profitability, it's not about making money, it's not about market share whatsoever, but a lot of people use the ideas from art of war and see them applicable in those contexts. So the first key concept is that the book concerns the Tao of survival. And then Sun Tzu, elaborate this into 5 forces. What are the 5 forces? First is the Tao. And of course the Tao is the most difficult to explain. It's almost inexplicable according to Lao Tzu. Then you have the heaven, Tian, and then the earth, and then you have leadership and organization. 5 key principles: the Tao, heaven, earth, leaders, and organization. And what Sun Tzu says is that you must compare vis-a-vis a competitor by comparing and considering these 5 key forces. And I always ask myself, why 5? Why not 6? Why not 7? But then probably during that period, human beings have got 5 fingers in the hand, and therefore you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 forces. And what Sun Tzu then says is that those who realize these 5 forces, realize means able to achieve and take advantages of all these 5 forces in combination, will win. Those who fail to integrate these 5 forces will lose. Then you'll find, as Sun Tzu mentioned, another key concept is that, the very, very important concept in Sun Tzu, which is rarely emphasized in most workshops, is that people is very important. That people abide by the Tao, and they are ruled by the Tao, and once you've ruled by the Tao, undyingly they follow. What do you mean by that? The Tao means the broad key principle, the broad goodness, following the way of the consciousness, the right way, so that people will go by it. Then you have, of course, we move on now to one key principle: heaven. Now Sun Tzu mentioned heaven. Heaven, one best way to understand heaven is really these are forces outside your control, outside human control. For example, day, night, the seasons, the hot, the cold, wet or dry. Those aspects of it are controlled by natural forces, natural environment. The day or the night, nobody can make a day turn to night or night to day. So first key principle is that you must consider heavenly forces. In terms of business, then you would be looking at the environment, the broad environment. If the environment has got, as now is happening, virus, then the whole economy is affected by that. There's nothing a company, a government can do anything about. Those are heavenly forces. Next, we have the earth. In contrast to the sky, to the heavenly forces, it is forces of the earth. And the earth, according to Sun Tzu, is something that you could measure. That is the battle being fought nearby, or is the battle being fought far away? And then, of course, Sun Tzu will emphasize on the dangers of the ground. And later on, you'll find in later chapters, Sun Tzu will elaborate in detail on the dangers of the ground. Now, Sun Tzu also emphasized leadership. Leadership is so important from the perspective of Sun Tzu. What are the 5 key qualities that Sun Tzu emphasized? And I'll use simple words to emphasize, but every word has a deep, profound meaning. Firstly, it is being wise. So a general a leader or king should be wise. Then, of course, it's emphasized that he or she should be believable. That what the king say, what the general says, soldiers would believe in what is spoken. Then kindness, right? Since we mentioned kindness is important. Brave, and also to be a firm character. And Sun Tzu says, very important, that the general should be one where the Tao is with him. That means he goes by the big way, the way that wins the support of the people. And that if he acts according to the Tao, as I said, it's a big word, Tao, right? Then heaven and earth will be behind him, that his rules will prevail, and his forces will be stronger, will be more motivated, and better trained. This is one of the key principles of Sun Tzu, Art of War. If he follows Art of War, the book that he wrote, the 13 Scrolls, then Sun Tzu says, you keep that general. Now, if the general doesn't act according to Art of War, Sun Tzu is very clear, sack him, get rid of him. He's not good enough to be a general. Now, Sun Tzu mentioned about a key concept is the fact that of the power in winning. How to gain the power in winning? Sun Tzu says, you must know the advantages. And once you know the advantages, then you act. And of course, you must deploy tactics. Thus, you are reflexive. Now, Sun Tzu, you'll find across the Art of War, always emphasize adaptation, adapt to the enemy. There is no one fixed strategy that is prescribed by Sun Tzu for winning. So what Sun Tzu mentioned is that the good general, you assess the factors. He will look into favorable versus unfavorable, and more favorable, more likely to victory. Tao of deception. This is a cardinal principle of Sun Tzu in Art of War. Deception is war. And he says that when you are able, it must appear to the enemy that you are unable. And when you are active, it must appear to the enemy that you are inactive. And when you are near, you must give the impression that you are far away. And if you are far away, you must seem to be near. The idea is that so that the enemy has got wrong information to act against you. Then you have this Tao of victory. Tao of victory emphasizes the use of lures. You must find ways to lure the enemy into a trap. And also that you are able to create disorder and avoid the enemy's strength whenever you compete with the enemy. Avoid his strength. And if the enemy has got substance, it's a substantial enemy, you got to prepare for attack. This is one key concept within the Art of War. And we have this Tao of victory, that if the enemy is resting, agitate him. Then if the enemy is completely unaware, you attack him and you thus win. Now this concept was extended by Mao, right, in his war against Japan. And of course, it is what you call when the enemy, first you withdraw, and then finally, when enemy is resting, you attack. Right, that closes for us chapter 1 or scroll 1.